I should have known something was off when she walked past me like I was a ghost. It was a Friday evening, and Emily was getting ready in the bedroom, the scent of her expensive vanilla perfume choking the air. She wasn't just getting ready, she was transforming. Tight black dress, red lipstick, heels that made her tower like a goddess. The kind of effort she used to put in for our date nights but hadn't in years. "Where are you going?" I asked from the doorway, arms crossed. She barely spared me a glance in the mirror. "Just a party." Party. No details. No names. Just a party. I waited for her to say something else, maybe invite me, maybe lie and say it was a girls' only thing. Instead, she just grabbed her clutch, kissed me on the cheek like I was some elderly uncle she felt obligated to acknowledge, and walked out. I didn't text her, didn't call. I was sick of being the guy who had to ask for breadcrumbs of attention. So I waited. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. At 2 a.m., I heard a car pull up. I moved to the window, expecting to see her stumble out, maybe wave goodbye to an Uber driver. But what I saw made my stomach flip. She was in the passenger seat of a black BMW. The driver, a man, leaned toward her. I couldn't see his face, but I saw her. I saw the way she laughed, the way she touched his arm, the way her head tilted ever so slightly like she was about to kiss him. Then she did. Not a friendly kiss, not a goodbye peck. A deep, slow kiss that stretched for what felt like an eternity. My body went cold. My brain screamed at me to run outside, to rip the door open and drag her out. But I didn't. I just stood there, watching as my wife cheated on me in the front seat of another man's car, right outside my own house. And then, like a cherry on top of this humiliating cake, she pulled away, laughed, and got out, adjusting her dress as if nothing had happened. She didn't even look at the house, didn't check if I was awake. She just walked up to the door, completely oblivious to the fact that I had just watched the whole thing. I stepped away from the window, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My hands clenched into fists. By the time she opened the front door, I was already sitting on the couch, waiting. Let the games begin. The door clicked shut. Emily walked in like a woman who had nothing to hide. Head high, posture perfect, heels clicking against the floor like a slow drum roll leading up to a grand performance. The scent of her perfume mixed with something else now, cologne. Not mine. I stayed on the couch, elbows on my knees, fingers laced together. My heart was hammering, but I forced my face into a mask of nothingness. I wanted to see what she'd do. She barely glanced at me, just tossed her clutch on the table and kicked off her heels, stretching like she was exhausted from a long night of betrayal. "Good party?" I asked, voice steady. She blinked, as if just now remembering I existed. "Huh? Oh, yeah. It was fine. Fine." I nodded slowly. "Must have been. You got home pretty late." Her eyes flickered just for a second. "Yeah." Lost track of time. I exhaled through my nose, leaning back. My jaw was tight, my nails pressing into my palms. "Keep going, Emily. Dig your own grave." "Who drove you home?" I asked, tilting my head. And there it was, the first crack. Her fingers twitched slightly before she reached for her phone, unlocking it like she was suddenly very, very busy. "Oh, Jessica. Jessica. Jessica, who moved to Texas last year. Jessica, who was engaged and spent most of her time posting about wedding planning on Instagram. Jessica, who definitely wasn't sitting in that BMW kissing my wife just 20 minutes ago." I smiled. "That's funny." She frowned. "What?" I leaned forward. "Because I just watched you kiss some guy in a black BMW right outside this house." Silence. Absolute. F******ing. Silence. Her entire body went rigid. Her breath hitched just slightly before she caught herself, masking it with a scoff. "What the hell are you talking about?" Oh, she wanted to play dumb. Cute. I stood up slowly, towering over her. "I saw you, Emily." My voice was calm, disturbingly calm. "I watched you, right from that window." I pointed behind me. "You kissed him. You touched his arm. You looked happier in that car than you have in this house for months." Her eyes darted to the window, as if she was just now realizing how exposed she had been. Then, like a switch flipping, her face twisted into a mask of pure defiance. "You're being insane," she snapped. "You think I'd cheat on you? Jesus, Tyler. Maybe if you weren't so paranoid all the time, we wouldn't have these issues. I let out a cold laugh. Paranoid. She was gaslighting me. Right to my face. Paranoid. I repeated. Emily, I don't think I saw you sucking face with another man. I know I did. You're still wearing the lipstick he smeared. Her hand twitched toward her mouth but stopped short. Another mistake. Another crack. I took a slow step forward, watching her every move. Tell me something, Emily. If I go outside and check the security camera, what do you think I'll see? She didn't answer. Her pupils were blown wide now, her body stiff like a deer caught in headlights. I could practically hear her brain working overtime, scrambling for a lie that could fix this. Then she did something that almost made me laugh. She rolled her eyes and scoffed, shaking her head like I was the problem here. You know what? I'm too tired for this bull's asterisk. She turned on her heel. I'm going to bed. I watched her walk away, just like that, like none of this even mattered, like I didn't matter. She thought it was over, but she had no idea. This wasn't over, not even close. Emily thought she could just walk away, that she could shut the bedroom door, crawl under the covers, and pretend none of this had happened. She underestimated me. I stood in the living room for a long time, staring at the hallway where she disappeared. My hands trembled. Not with sadness, not even with rage. It was something colder, sharper. She thought she had control of the narrative, that she could gaslight me into silence. But I had proof. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the security camera app. The front porch camera had a perfect angle of the driveway. My chest tightened as I scrolled back a few minutes. And there it was. Her. The BMW. The kiss. I watched it twice. 3 times. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to burn this feeling into my bones. The way she leaned into him, the way her fingers grazed his jaw like she used to do to me. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a drunken accident. It was intentional. And now it was undeniable. I took a deep breath, my heartbeat slowing into something steady, controlled. Then I did something that made my hands stop shaking. I sent the footage to her phone. A few seconds later, a muffled chime came from the bedroom. Silence. Then, footsteps. Fast. The door flew open, and Emily stormed into the living room, phone clutched in her hand like a weapon. Her face was pale, her mouth slightly open as if she was still processing what had just happened. What the hell is this? She snapped, holding up the screen like she hadn't just watched herself betray me in 4K resolution. I leaned back against the couch, completely calm. Oh, you tell me, Emily. Her eyes darted to the screen, as if she could somehow edit reality if she stared hard enough. Then she doubled down. This doesn't prove anything, she spat. It could be anyone. I laughed. A short, humorless sound. You're kidding, right? You're overreacting. She pushed. It was nothing. A stupid mistake. I tilted my head. A mistake. Yes. She threw her hands up. It didn't mean anything. I nodded slowly, like I was considering her words. So tell me his name. Her mouth snapped shut. The panic in her eyes was instant, like a fish caught on a hook. She had an answer for everything until now. I took a slow step forward. Who is he, Emily? Her breathing was shallow now, her fingers tightening around her phone. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. My voice was eerily calm. If it was nothing, if it didn't mean anything, then his name shouldn't be hard to say. She swallowed, opened her mouth, closed it again. That's when I knew. This wasn't a one-time thing. This wasn't just some drunk mistake at a party. This had been happening for a while. My hands clenched at my sides, but I refused to let her see how deep she had cut me. She sighed, running a hand through her hair, switching tactics. Tyler, I don't want to fight. Can we just drop this? I stared at her. She still thought she could control this, that she could guilt me into silence. I smiled, slow and sharp. Sure, we can drop it. Relief flashed across her face. Too soon. Right after I call your mother and tell her exactly what her perfect daughter has been doing behind my back. Her jaw dropped. You wouldn't. I grabbed my phone. Oh, I would. And just like that, Emily was finally scared. Emily lunged for my phone. I saw it coming. I stepped back, holding it just out of reach, watching as her perfectly curated facade shattered before my eyes. Gone was the smug confidence, the gaslighting, the fake exhaustion. What stood before me now was pure panic. "Tyler, stop!" she snapped, reaching for me again. I let out a sharp laugh. "Now you care? What happened to it was nothing? If it's nothing, why are you so scared?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Because you're being ridiculous. There's no reason to bring my family into this." "Oh, there's a reason." I unlocked my phone, scrolling to her mother's number. "You lied to me. You cheated on me. And now you want to pretend like I'm the bad guy for exposing you." Emily's breath hitched. "Tyler, please." The desperation in her voice was new. It almost sounded real. Almost. I paused, letting the silence stretch. "Then tell me his name." She flinched. Her eyes darted away, her breathing quickening. I could see the war happening in her head, the urge to keep lying versus the realization that she was running out of time. I crossed my arms. "That's what I thought." Emily swallowed hard. Then finally she spoke. It's just a guy from work." I smiled coldly. "His name, Emily." She hesitated too long. "His name." She exhaled shakily. Nick. I didn't recognize the name, but I sure as hell was going to find out who he was. "How long?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. She shook her head. "Tyler, how long?" Her eyes glossed over, a single tear slipping down her cheek. She probably thought that would soften me. Didn't. "A few months." My stomach dropped. I knew it. I knew it wasn't just a one-time thing, but hearing her say it, that was a whole different level of pain. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. "Did you ever plan on telling me?" Emily scoffed, suddenly shifting back to anger. "Of course not. Why would I? Look at you. You're acting like a psycho over a mistake." I blinked slowly. "A mistake? Emily, you just admitted it's been going on for months." She threw up her hands. "So what? You want to ruin my life over this?" I stared at her. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't crying because she regretted it. She was crying because she got caught. That realization was the final nail in the coffin. I exhaled sharply and nodded. "Okay." Emily's eyebrows furrowed. "What?" I grabbed my keys. "I'm done." Panic flashed across her face. "Wait. Where are you going?" I gave her a cold, dead stare. "Anywhere but here." And with that, I walked out, leaving her standing there, still trying to figure out how the hell she had lost control. I stepped outside, slamming the door behind me. The night air hit me like a slap, cold and sharp, but nothing compared to the ice spreading through my chest. I gripped my keys so hard they dug into my palm. I didn't even know where I was going, just that I had to get out. Behind me, the door flew open again. "Tyler, come back inside." Emily's voice was frantic now, but there was no regret in it, just desperation. I turned slowly. "Why?" she faltered, eyes flicking over my face, searching for something. Weakness. Maybe. An opening. "Because this is insane," she snapped, throwing up her hands. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. You're acting like I murdered someone." I let out a sharp laugh. "No, Emily. I'm acting like someone who just found out his wife has been screwing another man for months." She flinched, glancing at the neighbors' houses like she was afraid someone might hear. "Oh, now she's worried about appearances?" Her voice dropped. "Can we just talk?" I stared at her, letting the silence stretch. Then I smiled. Not the kind I used to give her. Not the kind filled with love. This one was empty. "Talk," I echoed. "Oh, now you want to talk?" Emily crossed her arms. "I just think you're acting." I held up a finger, cutting her off. "Let me ask you something, Emily. If I hadn't caught you tonight, would you have ever told me?" Silence. Her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to lie, but she knew. She knew. I wouldn't buy it anymore. I nodded slowly. "That's what I thought." I turned and walked toward my car. Her footsteps followed me. "Tyler, wait." I spun back, and for the first time that night, I let it out. "Wait for what, Emily? For you to come up with a better lie? For you to rewrite the story so that somehow I'm the problem?" Her jaw clenched. "I already told you, it was a mistake." I let out a sharp breath, stepping closer. Stop saying that. You don't accidentally lie for months. You don't whoops your way into another man's bed. This wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. And you made it over, and over, and over again. Emily swallowed hard, and for a brief second, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Fear. Good. She thought she could control this, twist it, make me the bad guy. But now she realized something. She had lost me. I exhaled and turned away. We're done. Emily grabbed my arm. Wait. Just stay and let's talk about this. I yanked my arm away so fast she stumbled back. Talk to Nick, I said coldly. He's your problem now. And with that, I got in my car, started the engine, and left. I didn't look back. Not this time that I drove with no destination. The streets blurring past like a bad dream. The betrayal sat heavy in my chest, pressing against my ribs like a weight I couldn't shake. Emily's voice still rang in my ears. Her pathetic excuses, her desperate attempts to control the situation even after she was caught red-handed. But the worst part? She wasn't sorry. She wasn't crying because she hurt me. She was crying because she got caught. I clenched the steering wheel, my knuckles white. I needed answers. Before I could second-guess myself, I pulled into a parking lot and grabbed my phone. If Emily wasn't going to tell me the truth, I'd find it myself. I opened our cell phone bill. It took less than a minute to find his number. Nick. There he was, listed hundreds of times over the past few months. Late-night calls, midday texts. Even during our anniversary dinner, she had been messaging him. A hollow laugh escaped my throat. She really thought I'd never find out. My fingers hovered over his number. I wanted to call, to hear his voice, to ruin his night the way he had ruined my life. But then, something even better hit me. I copied the number and pasted it into a search engine. And that's when I found him. Nick Harper. Married. I scrolled through his wife's Facebook page, my pulse pounding. Pictures of them at family gatherings, vacation photos, anniversary posts that made my stomach turn. Oh, Emily. I almost wanted to laugh. She wasn't just a homewrecker. She was a mistress. And she had no idea that I had just found the perfect way to burn her world to the ground. Without hesitation, I clicked on Nick's wife's profile and hit message. I typed out one simple sentence. Hey, I think we need to talk. And then I sent the proof. The texts. The call logs. The video of Emily kissing him in our driveway. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Then 3 little dots appeared. She was typing. The 3 little dots blinked on the screen. Then they stopped. Then they started again. My chest tightened as I stared at the screen, waiting. The seconds stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then finally a message popped up. Who are you? I exhaled slowly, my fingers steady as I typed. My name is Tyler. My wife, Emily, has been having an affair with your husband, Nick. I attached the video. Silence. Then another message. Oh my God. A pause. Then another message. Please tell me this is a joke. I sighed, rubbing my face. I wish it was. Another pause. Then a flood of messages came through. How long? Are you sure? I had a feeling, but I didn't want to believe it. That last one hit me hard. I could picture her sitting there, heart pounding just like mine had been a few hours ago, trying to piece together the same ugly truth. A few months, I replied. Maybe longer. I just found out tonight. The dots appeared again. This time, they stayed longer. Then, finally, I need to see him. Right now. I glanced at the time, 2:47 a.m. I smirked. Want to pay them a visit? 15 minutes later, I pulled up outside my house. Another car was already parked there. Nick's wife had beaten me to it. She stepped out before I even turned off the engine. She was in sweatpants and a hoodie, her hair tied up in a messy bun. But her eyes were pure fire. You must be Tyler, she said, crossing her arms. I nodded. You must be Mrs. Harper. She exhaled sharply. Not for much longer. A bitter chuckle escaped me. Yeah, I know the feeling. She turned toward the house, her jaw set. They're in there, aren't they? I glanced at the window, the lights were still on. They have no idea what's coming, I muttered. She smiled. A cruel, vengeful smile. Let's change that. And together we walked to the front door. I barely had to knock. The door swung open within seconds. Emily. Her eyes widened when she saw me, but before she could say a single word, her gaze shifted to the woman standing beside me. Nick's wife stepped forward, her voice dripping with venom. "Hi, Emily." Emily's face drained of color. What the hell is this?" I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "A family reunion. Thought we should all have a little chat." She opened her mouth, but before she could spew another lie, Nick appeared behind her. His hair was a mess, his shirt wrinkled like he had thrown it on in a hurry. His face froze when he saw his wife. "Oh, hey, babe," she said, her voice eerily calm. "Funny running into you here." Nick swallowed hard. "How did you?" She held up her phone, where my messages were still open. "Your little plaything's husband just sent me everything." Emily spun toward me, her mask of fear snapping into fury. "You?" I cut her off. "Save it." I turned back to Nick. "You know what's funny, man? I didn't even know who you were until about an hour ago. But I checked our phone records, and wow, you two never shut up." Nick had the audacity to look guilty. "Look, man, this isn't what it looks like." His wife laughed. A hollow, bitter sound. "Oh, please, Nick. Shut up." Nick flinched. "Baby, She slapped him. Hard. The sound cracked through the air, and for a second, no one moved. Then she took a deep breath, adjusted her hoodie, and looked at Emily. "You can keep him." Emily's mouth opened and closed, completely speechless. Nick's wife turned back to me, her hands still shaking. "You deserve better," she muttered. "So do you." She nodded once, then turned on her heel and walked away, leaving Nick standing there, still holding his cheek like an idiot. And then Emily made her final mistake. She looked me dead in the eye and scoffed. "You're so dramatic, Tyler. It wasn't even that serious." I laughed. A cold, humorless sound. "Not serious?" I reached into my pocket and pulled out a set of divorce papers. Her face dropped. "I had a feeling about you, Emily," I said, my voice calm. "So I prepared for this." I handed her the papers. "Sign them." Her lips trembled, but her pride wouldn't let her beg. Instead, she glared. "You think you're punishing me?" She scoffed. "I don't even care." I smirked. "Then signing should be easy." She snatched the papers from my hand and ripped them in half. "There." She folded her arms. "What now?" I smiled. "I have more copies." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Then I turned, walking back to my car. "Oh, and Emily?" She flinched. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. "You were never as good at lying as you thought." And with that, I left. For good.